21. Thanks for being here. Thanks for supporting the channel. Like, comment as you guys come in. I appreciate you always for supporting me, being kind in the comments. There's a lot going on, and we're going to get to it all. Yesterday, it seems as if the judge was over it in regards to Diddy kind of glancing at the jurors. I'm not surprised. And the reason why I say that is I remember doing a video in regards to some of the content creators slash reporters stating how Diddy would look at them. So I'm not surprised that he's allegedly looking at the alleged jurors. And if the judge is calling it out, it's happening in the courtroom, which is a concern. Because everyone says that Diddy likes to look at you and kind of get a feel of you with his eyes. So I'm not surprised that the judge called it out. And maybe one of the jurors said, I feel a little uncomfortable at times. And maybe it was called out. And maybe they said, okay, we'll keep an eye on it. And if it continues, because it's being alleged that this is not the first time. So if this is not the first time, and the judge said, if can you control your can you control Diddy? And they said it won't happen again, we promise you. So I don't know if he gonna have to turn his chair a certain way. He gonna have to figure out something. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to the disclaimer. Okay. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged in our opinion and for entertainment purposes only. Y'all know me. I always get my disclaimer in. People aren't going to be playing with me. And also, like I always say, Diddy's innocent till proven guilty. We've always said that with every video because it is up to the judge and jury if there's any wrongdoing on his side. Real talk. I don't know. I wasn't there. We can only take people for what they're stating. The witnesses are getting on stand, and I told y'all weeks ago that they're going to make them feel like they're in the wrong, which is crazy. He's the one that's in jail. So here nor there, and we're finding that sometimes people are saying, "Oh, he did this and he did that," but then they're kind of kind to him in emails or messages. Have anyone else noticed? And let me know in the comments. Has anyone else noticed whether there's any voicemail messages that's been released? I haven't heard of any, which is very interesting. Whether that's from Diddy's phone, whether that's from Cassie's phone. I don't think I've heard anyone say that this is a voicemail that's been released. So here nor there. I've been thinking about that. Especially back and forth in regards to Diddy Cassie. Because a lot of times with messages, it saves in a certain spot. But here nor there, if there's messages, I want to hear the messages. Can you guys hear me okay? Press 1 if you guys can hear me okay. Press 1 if you guys can hear me okay. Press 2 if the sound is a little muffled. It should be okay, though. It should be okay. Okay, so we're going to get to a few different things. I kind of want to show their face a little bit more. Hold on one second. But yeah, let's get to what transpired. As we mentioned yesterday, the judge was not happy that Diddy was allegedly glancing at the jurors, and he said basically get him under control, period. We're going to get through some clips. I hope everyone's doing okay. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 you've been here before where you're watching from. I thank everyone for being here, supporting the channel. Memberships are over there. They are available. If you want to support the channel by becoming a member, that'll be great. We're going to get to some clips. Let me see. Hold on one second. Because I was watching. Okay, you guys can hear me. Okay, good. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Thanks for being here. Like I said, he's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. I wasn't there, but we're just going to report on what's being said, what's being talked about. Let me see. Was it News Nation? Yeah, there's a lot going on even outside of the Diddy trial. And I'm surprised other people aren't in the courtroom in regards to who's the other guy? There's a guy that's also in the court that's not far from Diddy. A lot of people aren't covering that. I'm kind of surprised about that. That other people aren't covering. Is it wine? Yeah. I'm surprised people aren't covering that. But let's get to hold on, let me hit that. But there was a few that I had saved. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello everyone. Yeah, and like I said, some of these girlfriends or women that was dating him, some of their stories are corroborating. The young lady had basically said, "Hey, I got in it. I wanted him to allegedly pay my rent, and they came to an agreement of an amount that he was going to give her. And then when she was basically like, "Okay, I don't want to do this anymore," Diddy was like, "Okay, well, I don't want to date you if you're not going to do XYZ for me." So it's interesting how he treats women. It's almost like he wines and dines them, and then okay, you're out. So that's an issue too. Okay, we're gonna get to this clip. Armand was on News Nation. I had told y'all sometimes at night I listen to Armand. He has a YouTube channel. I shout out the ones that I kind of listen to. Um, I try and keep it positive. There's other YouTubers, but I kind of like how Armand covers it. But we're gonna listen to this too. I kind of like how Armand goes in regards to breaking it down generally about different witnesses and what they bring to the table. Not everybody is going to be liked as a witness. Not everybody's going to like what the witnesses are saying. Not everybody's going to feel that their stories line up. But the biggest thing is, you got to remember, you guys, a lot of these people were on substances. A lot of these people were on substances. So that causes an issue too. But the dates should be right, and you should be able to corroborate your story. Okay, so we're gonna get to this clip. Come on in, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. You can say good morning. You can let us know. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 you've been here before where you're watching from. We're gonna go ahead and get to this clip. Fair use reaction clip.
The guy's a D-bag, and you can leave him. You came into the relationship with a life.
Hold on.
You took on the... Listen to that, and I just thought, the guy's a D-bag, and you can leave him. You came into the relationship with a life, you took on the lifestyle, and you easily could have left. Yeah, you'd lose the fancy apartment and all the things that you got as a bonus by being with Diddy. But this wasn't the kind of situation where Cassie felt if she left, he'd come after her. He'd send his staff after her. He'd send his security agents after her. That Diddy would come after her and beat her senseless if she did just the least, tiniest thing that didn't involve him or was out of his control. I'm not getting that sense with Jane, and I want to be real clear. In order to establish that this is coercion or...
Yeah. Cassie kept coming back, but then he would send people to go get Cassie as well. And then he would get mad if Cassie tried to date other people that could look, that would make him look bad. I don't think he was really concerned about Alex Fine. I don't know. Maybe he was just tired of the Cassie back and forth. But in regards to Alex Fine, he seemed like there wasn't a big story in regards to, it's almost like him and Cassie were over it all those years. But many of the women kept going back. Many of the employees kept going back because they were focused on their career and what he could do for them. Sad but true. A lot of the situations from what we're seeing and a lot of people's opinion, toxic relationship, toxic environment, real talk. And there's still a lot of time to go. I think people want to rush this and say they haven't met the requirements, but here nor there. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Any woman, if anything, people should learn from what Cassie went through and some of the employees went through. Let's continue. Fair use.
Sex trafficking. You have to say, I don't want to cross that state line. I don't want to go to Turks and Caicos. Get on the damn plane, girl. Now you're talking coercion. Now you're talking, she didn't have a choice. I felt like she had a choice in all of this. She just really liked the fancy money and the life.
Well, and she also liked him. That's what I thought would have been different, because she came a little bit different versus like, oh, he did all these bad things to me. She came like, I loved him. I wanted to be with him. He's a great guy. He was an amazing guy. He was affectionate. He had an alluring personality. All I wanted was him, but he didn't just want it to be me and him. He wanted me with all these other things. And when I didn't want to do that, then he would hold the money over my head. So I don't feel like she ever did not want to be there. she actually said she enjoyed it when it was him and her.
Yeah. That's I keep going back to the time I dated a-holes, and I'm like, I'm out of here. I do not like them. I am out of here. I'm gonna get my own life. And so I tell you what, I am waiting. And you tell me if you think this is where the government's going. I am waiting to find out if he started to get violent with her. Because then all bets are off, right? Now everything changes. Now there's violence, threat, coercion, control. You can't just say it's controlling because he's like, I don't want you if you're not gonna live my kinky lifestyle. I'm not gonna pay for your apartment. That's not coercion to me. But do you think that's coming? Do you think that they're headed towards some testimony from this witness, Jane, who might say the beatings started?
I feel like that's what we're expecting. But let me ask you, with your expertise, do you think that we could have?
Now, listen to what Armand is about to say. I get what he's saying. Not every witness is going to have the same type of relationship with Diddy. They're just not. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Kind of now been violenced out, and maybe if she comes in a place where I really liked him and I really wanted to be with him, but he still was looming the money over me, and I have my receipts, I have the text messages where I didn't want to have all the sex, because her testimony doesn't sound that far off from Cassie's. It's just not the abuse, but he's still manipulating her and kind of gaslighting her in a way. So I think that it might be a little bit more refreshing to say, okay, everybody's not getting up here claiming that they're being beat, because a lot of people saying they're getting beat, they're not really coming out to be truthful witnesses, from Mia to Brana. So
see how I said, I like how he's saying not every story is going to be the same, but there's concerns there. So let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Certain aspects, and you're right, that's what the defense says. They chip away things when you say, I don't remember, I can't remember, whatever. But I'll tell you this, when I was listening to everything that Jane was laying out, it sounded to me like a divorce hearing for a settlement. It didn't sound to me like racketeering. And I also didn't get the impression that Jane was an employee. Okay, he's handing her gifts and money. My husband gives me a nice watch every so often too. That's not, I'm not on his payroll, I'm not his employee. So I got a very different sense. But I sort of feel like if she starts testifying about how things, they started with the love bombing and then turned to the beat bombing, then that will change the metric. Let me ask you something else, though. What about the jurors? Because I know that you've watched them on occasion. Today, one of our staff members said there's one juror in particular who was like smirking every time Diddy's lawyers make a good point and, dress down one of the government witnesses. And then today, that juror was like beaming when this whole, Bana Bangalan.
Now, Armand's going to say at times he's in the courtroom and at times he's in the overflow room. It just depends on what time he gets there. Certain jurors, when certain things are happening, they're gasping. Their eyes are so certain jurors are really into what's happening and they're reacting. I think they can slightly react, but they don't want Diddy looking at them though. So let's listen to what Armand has to say about that.
Was caught in what looked like a lie because her dates didn't line up with the abuse that she said, was exacted upon her on the balcony, being dangled. What's your impression of how this jury's reacting?
Okay, so for me, I was in the overflow today, but I think that everybody, for the most part, was kind of gagging a little bit, because when Westmoreland gets on that stand, or when Brian Steele gets on that stand, they put on a performance jacket like none other. So I don't know if the juror smiling was more about a nod to Diddy versus it was like, hey, she's really grilling her and this girl is sitting up there stuck, because it was like Bonham was over there looking like she had seen a ghost with those eyes, and then she was like, she asked her, she said, a person can't be at one place, two places at the same time. And then Bonham goes, I guess that's right, by theory. And everybody cracks up because it's like, yeah, girl, you're kind of caught in this lie right now. So I think it's more of a lighthearted thing versus.
So let me tell y'all what's happening. It's being reported that the dates in regards to her being dangled over the balcony isn't lining up. So you got to realize there's a Mia situation, there's a Jane situation, and then there was a friend of Cassie's situation. So there's different women. Don't mix up the situation. And then allegedly, we talked about this. Mia is supposed to be anonymous. I think people are getting in trouble. I saw a video last night. Mia is supposed to be anonymous. People were allegedly, I guess, read her name in comments, which you're not supposed to do. Don't put Mia's name in the comments. Don't tell us what she do in real life. I'm not going to read it. If the court say Mia is supposed to be anonymous, Mia needs to be anonymous. I don't know why people were playing with that. So, yeah. It's a concern. Concerns outside, concerns inside. People are just, I told y'all there was going to be distractions though. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Like, oh, I'm rocking with Diddy, because Bonham was sitting up there like a deer in headlights, and then she was stumbling over herself, and Westmoreland was really grilling her. However, I do think that this will boil down to what men think versus how women see things. And I think that's going to be the issue with the jurors, because I'm hearing a lot of men are not really thinking Diddy did anything wrong, or at least it's not being proven. Whereas women are a little bit more emotionally charged. So all they have to do is see the domestic violence video, and they've made their decision.
Yeah, and listen, jurors might just hate him for that and say, I don't even care whether he's a racketeer. I don't like him. I want him going to jail just for that. And sometimes that happens. It's not right, but sometimes it happens. Armin, will you please come back to the show?
Yes. Will you please have me back for sure?
Absolutely. I want to have you on my podcast too. I think you're insane.
So I think Armand's doing a great job. I told y'all he was doing great coverage, and I've been telling y'all sometimes at night that's who I was watching. So it's nice to see that Armand has gone on TMZ. That was him on News Nation. Who else? He was on Nancy Grace. And see, other people are copying Armand. Oh yeah, I'll do an interview. And then I'm not even gonna go there. Once you see a certain person do certain things, other people that's seeking that same will try and do whatever. So yesterday we listened to some of it. As soon as they came on, I cut it off. Okay, so we're gonna get to more information in regards to what happened yesterday. Like the video as you guys come in. I appreciate you all for being here. Thanks for supporting the show. Like the video. All you got to do is double tap the screen to like the video. All you got to do is double tap the screen to like the video. Hold on one second. Okay. Yeah. And I really, other than that, I normally don't give out names. I try to stay away from that. But if somebody's doing a great job, I'm going to say kudos for doing a great job because I had told y'all sometimes who I listen to at night. Okay, so the next video's queuing up. But like the videos, you guys are coming in. All right.
Court today during Sean Diddy Combs' sex trafficking trial. Rihanna Bongolan just wrapped up her second day of testimony, and the defense team accused her of lying about Combs' allegedly holding her over a 17-story balcony back in 2016. Now, she pushed back, saying that she had no doubt that it happened, and she wanted to testify to seek justice. NBC News senior national correspondent Stephanie Gosk joins us now from outside that courthouse. Stephanie, there was, this heated moment that happened during the lunch break, actually, where the judge threatened to remove Combs from the courtroom. What preceded that?
Yeah, it's really interesting, Morgan. So the jury went out, Brianna Bongolan went out, and the judge turned to the defense team and said, your client was nodding vigorously during the testimony towards the jurors. Now, there are strict rules that the client, the defendant, is not allowed to make any kind of eye contact with the jury. The judge told them that is absolutely unacceptable and asked if it was going to happen again. The defense team said, no, it will not happen again. And the judge replied, well, that's good, because if it does, then I may remove Combs entirely from the courtroom, which would be quite a big deal, Morgan.
There's a woman who goes by the pseudonym Jane in this case who's expected to take the stand next. After already a pretty explosive day, as you mentioned, not only in the court but during the lunch break, what do we expect to see, and what do we expect the tone to be for the rest of the day?
Yeah, Morgan, we actually expect maybe she'll take the stand after this lunch break for sure, and that it's going to be quite graphic, detailed testimony, and it's expected to last for days. Now, according to the prosecution, she had direct experience with these freak-off parties that Combs had, these kind of drug-fueled parties. According to the prosecution, she's going to talk about how she was coerced into participating in those parties. She's also, according to the prosecution, going to share some stories about her personally being assaulted by Combs, including one incident where she was put in a headlock and dragged across the floor. So it could be very detailed and very graphic in the coming days, Morgan.
All right, Stephanie.
Like the video, fair use reaction clip. What do you guys think of the witnesses? What do you guys think of their testimonies? Do you think that everyone's doing a good job? Some are saying it's okay that there's highs and lows in regards to the witnesses. Not every witness has to hit the mark every day. Not every witness may remember everything that transpired because these people are allegedly on substances. I have to watch what I say, but yeah, it's a huge concern in regards to what's happening, what's being talked about. Hold on one second. Like the video as you guys come in. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 you've been here before where you're watching from. And if you're watching from a phone, can you please double tap the screen? Let's get the likes up to 100. If I can get 100 people to double tap that screen. If you're watching from a phone, double tap the screen if you're watching from a tablet. And if you're watching from a TV, you have to probably hit the like button by pressing the button and finding. But the like button is the thumbs up. Okay, let's get to the clip.
Testimony in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs, and what a day it was. The judge nearly threw Combs out of the courtroom for making faces, and we heard some emotional testimony from another.
Now, I don't think he was thrown out the courtroom. I think they were about to take a lunch break. I will debunk stuff too if I feel that stuff is not right, even if it comes from the news. They were about to take a break, and they went to, I think they did like either a sidebar or they went up to the judge's bench to talk to him. But it showed a picture of them off to the side talking about, look at here, you can't be staring at the jurors. You can't be, and see, he likes to do that. I don't know if that's like a little tick for him. Because remember how the reporters was saying he was doing that too. He was kind of scanning who's in the room, who's reporting on it. He did that to them too. So this isn't something new. Like the video, fair use reaction clip.
Former girlfriend, one of the final witnesses against Mr. Combs as prosecutors begin to wrap up their case. In just a moment, we'll be joined by ABC News legal analyst Shauna Lloyd to dig deeper into everything that happened in court today. But first up, here's Darla Miles with a recap from Lower Manhattan.
Sean Diddy Combs may end up getting kicked out of the courtroom in the sex trafficking and racketeering trial that will determine if he spends the rest of his life in jail. Thursday afternoon, Judge Arun Subramanian with a stern warning to Combs' attorneys. There's a line of questioning where your client was nodding vigorously and looking at the jury, and there was a subsequent moment when there was a sidebar and I saw your client looking at the jury. That is absolutely unacceptable, saying, if it happens again, if it happens even once, I will hear an application from the government to give a curative instruction to the jury, which you don't want. That could result in the exclusion of your client from the courtroom. Combs' nonverbal interaction with jurors during the harsh and humiliating second day of cross-examination of Brianna Bongolan, the graphic designer who was accused of 55-year-old mogul of dangling her off a 17-story balcony. A handful of those jurors repeatedly seen chatting with each other and making faces on a daily basis. And later on today, prosecutors calling Jane, the third alleged victim, to the stand. Jane testifying, I loved him. I really loved my partner. I loved making...
So this is Jane, who's testifying yesterday and today. She may be even on the stand by next week. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Love to my partner. It was really wonderful, really nice. I felt like Sean was really passionate. What do you remember happening with you talking with Sean in May 2021? Jane responding, we searched specific names on websites just in the middle of being high. He wanted me to fantasize about other men. When you said okay, did you think it was going to happen that night? Jane answering no. Jane going on to say that she had sex with an escort for the first time that night and that it opened a Pandora's box to our relationship forever. It was a door that I was unable to shut during our relationship.
See?
Now, Jane went on to talk about a pattern called hotel.
That's a concern. Think about it. The scope of things. Do most guys want their girl to sleep with and be with other people? That's interesting to me. That's something he loves. But like I said, he's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. A judge, jury is going to have to decide if there's any wrongdoing. Like the video, fair use reaction clip. Let's continue.
That is the pattern that prosecutors are working to establish right now. Patterns where his assistants would set up the room with baby oil, dim lighting, and candles. Her testimony will resume tomorrow morning, and it is expected to last for at least 5 days.
Our thanks to Darla Miles, joined now by Shauna Lloyd. Wow. All right, so let's get into what happened today. First of all, take me into the moment where Sean Combs is almost kicked out of the courtroom. How did that happen, and what was going on when the judge got furious?
Well, it actually happened at a sidebar, but earlier in Brianna's testimony, she was facing a very heavy, very terse cross-examination on the dates because it seemed as though Sean Combs was somewhere else when she said he was dangling her over the balcony.
Right, because the defense is trying to hammer home that did this really happen, and
Correct.
They're doing that by pointing out inconsistencies with the dates, saying he was at the Prudential Center, you were at this
Exactly.
hotel. What was it? Can he be?
Can one person be in two places at one time? Was a direct quote, right?
She didn't know how to answer.
No, she said, I can't say on the stand. So it was very terse. You could tell that there was a lot of, credibility issues that were being brought in immediately at that moment. And it was during her cross-examination that he looks over, because he's seated on the left table. He looks over at the jury and he's like, and making it kind of like, do you see this? And he's sort of communicating. But the problem is defendants are not, under any circumstances, to communicate, engage the jury in any way. So during a sidebar, the judge just cuts into it and says, basically, I'll take you out of the courtroom or I will issue a curative instruction if you do not stop doing that. And he was speaking to the attorney, right? Because he's speaking to Mr. Ignifilo to make sure that his client will not do that again, because it is very much against court rules.
So that admonishment was outside the jury. Then,
Correct.
Right? What did the jurors do though when Sean Combs is making these faces? Did you? I mean,
some of them are looking back, some of them don't want to look, and then they look kind of away. It just depends. The jurors are all a little bit different, but one of the things that the judge wants to always protect against is that they no way feel that it was threatening, because that's always what the judge is going to be concerned about, which is why he said he would either remove him from the courtroom or give a curative instruction.
Which, by the way, there has been an accusation of Sean Combs threatening different witnesses in this particular case, so that's something to remember as well. Let's finish up with Ms. Bongalin, because what did the prosecution, what were they able to...
Now, I've never heard that he's threatened anybody in regards to witnesses. I will debunk stuff if the news is reporting something I don't agree with. But let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Introduce, or what were they able to do with that witness?
To rehabilitate her, what they basically said is that she wasn't clear about the dates. She believed that she was accurate, but to the best of her ability, she tried to recount it.
And there was a lot of drug use.
Yes, correct.
So that played a part too.
We saw some pictures of a large amounts of drugs that she was sending to Cassie. And so that amount of drug use, the amount of time also that it's been, so that's where we saw the government really try to rehabilitate her, because the cross-examination made it seem as though she had made the entire thing up.
And I know jurors from some of the accounts from inside, they were taking a lot of notes during the...
Can you guys still hear me? Can you guys still hear me? I hope you can still hear me, because it's saying reconnecting. Sometimes it does that. Let me see. Hold on one second. Press 1 if you can still hear me. Can you guys still hear me? It's in and out. Hold on. Let me see. Like the video as you guys come in. Thanks for being here. Yeah, sometimes it'll reconnect. You can hear me? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Let me go back to the other video.
I've never seen someone with such...
Thanks, you guys. Okay. Yeah, last week it cut me out, because then I was like, okay, I got stuff to do. So that may be my clue. Okay, so we're about to go back to the video. Thanks for being here, everyone. Appreciate you. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Let me rewind a little bit of it. Okay. Thank you.
We saw some pictures of a large amounts of drugs that she was sending to Cassie. And so that amount of drug use, the amount of time also that it's been, so that's where we saw the government really try to rehabilitate her, because the cross-examination made it seem as though she had made the entire thing up.
And I know jurors from some of the accounts from inside, they were taking a lot of notes during the defense cross-examination. And so we'll see, maybe we'll never know truly, but we'll see how that plays in. Let's fast forward, because we had Cassie Ventura, one of the key witnesses in this case, and an alleged victim. Then we had Mia testify. Now we heard from Jane.
Yes.
Much anticipated. What was Jane's story?
So Jane's story is that she met him initially on a girls' trip. One of her girlfriends was...
Okay, so like I told y'all, they're about to tell us how this Jane person met Diddy and came across, and how they dated, and how he alleged gave her money for house rent and whatever else she needed money for. So let's listen to what this Jane person, or Jane Doe person, is about.
Dating him. She waited until that girlfriend got engaged and then re-engaged with Mr. Combs. And so they got together, and she said on the first date, they spent 5 days together. It was supposed to be first date. They spent 5 days together. She talked about how exciting it was, that he was very charming. She said she was in love. It was passionate. It was exciting. She really enjoyed it. She said the second time they got together, he started introducing this idea of fantasizing. Do you fantasize about other men, things of that nature, while they're watching some pornographic material?
This is in Miami? At the Faina Hotel?
Well, that was the first date. Yes, the first date was in Miami. And so then this...
So if it's outside of his normal living jurisdiction, that's why I think where they're saying it's not where he lives. So remember how everyone's saying if it's not where he lives, it's a concern. So let's just keep that in mind. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Subsequently, they traveled and brought it up. And she said that she didn't expect it, but he said, well, I can make that happen tonight. And so at that point, there is an escort who's brought in. She comes out. But she said after the first experience, she said she thought it was exciting, exhilarating. She said very taboo. She thought it was something she was doing with the person that she loved. So she didn't think anything about it. The government even asked her, did you think you'd do it again? And she said, yes, I thought I might do it again randomly because I thought we had a great time. We exchanged something.
So like a fetish type.
Yeah, some sort of, either fetish or just something that they enjoyed that was a little different.
Yeah.
Right, privately between the two of them. And so she said she expected that it would happen again. They fast forwarded a little bit. They don't take us fully through the relationship because let's remember she's going to be on the stand for 5 days. She talks about him taking care of her rent later in the relationship and that she said she was concerned because when she voiced that she didn't want to partake in these activities anymore, he said to her, well, I'll pay 3 months of your rent, and then I won't after that because obviously I'm not going to pay for someone I'm not dating.
We're talking about $10,000 a month.
$10,000 a month was the amount they agreed on. He had called her up and said, let's make a love contract, not a legal contract, but just an oral agreement between the two of them. She said that she asked for 15 and that he agreed to 10. And that's how they got there.
So then where did things take a turn?
Well, that's what we're waiting to see, right?
Okay.
Because she says that she didn't want to participate and that she expressed that to him. Now, they didn't dive very heavily into that, but they did touch on the fact, well, if you didn't want to do it, why did you continue to do it? And she said she felt obligated because he was paying her rent at the time, which was his $10,000 rent.
So we expected her to be on, as you mentioned, about a week
Yes.
of testimony, so we're just at the beginning stages. But as we set the scene for what we expect to hear, she, of course, is pivotal to the prosecution's case. What is the defense hoping to do as they then rank?
Now, I'm wondering if she signed an NDA. So it seems as if he likes to wine and dine and then get people comfortable into what he likes. That's what it seems like. Fair use reaction clip. They're going to also talk about who he was allegedly seeing when he got arrested. So I think we're going to get to that too. Because remember, when he got arrested, his room was set up for an event, allegedly. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Up to put on their own case with. So with this particular, with this particular alleged victim, we know how the cross-examination went with the Cassie Ventura experience. So what is the defense hoping to do with Jane?
I think we're going to expect them to attack her credibility because at some point in time, this was a consensual act that you guys were partaking in an intimate relationship. So once you started not wanting to participate, they're going to be looking at that very heavily. Was it communicated? How did you express that, right? Because up to now, and we have to remember that the government still has a couple more days to show us where the force and coercion is. We don't legally see the force and coercion, right? He gave her an out. She chose not to take it. So they're going to attack whatever that is that she's saying was the force and coercion.
How is it in the courtroom at this point in this trial? Because it's been going on for a while now.
Yes.
We feel the pressure on the outside because of all the headlines, and we see all the intimate details of how it unfolds, and we can kind of see it from a 30,000-foot view. But when you're there on the ground in the courtroom, what's the atmosphere like?
You know, it's very interesting because we're mixed inside the courtroom, right? So there's a lot of media, there's a lot of public, so we get to actually hear.
So there's journalists and then there's like content creators. It's kind of 20 to 24 journalists and maybe 14 to 12 content creators in the main. But then in regards to the overflow, anybody can pretty much be in the overflow. And allegedly, there's several overflow rooms. So let's continue. And in the overflow, you can kind of get away with chatting a little bit, but you can't get out of control because they'll boot you out of the overflow. Now, in the main courtroom, nothing. No words, not a lot of facial expressions. You can't do a lot in the main courtroom. Let's continue. Fair use.
The sentiment. And after today's testimony, everyone was like, why are we here? This is an intimate act between these two people. Sure, there was absolutely domestic violence between him and Cassie Ventura. Everyone acknowledges that. The defense did as well. But it's looking right now like they do not have enough. And most of the general public that I speak to that's in the courtroom with us, they're not seeing it. And so what we're looking to see is what the prosecution is going to lay out over the next couple of days, because I think that's either going to solidify their case or it's not.
Everyone said to go to a traditional university.
Like the video, like the video. And you guys got to remember, this is the beginning of the month. We still have several weeks to go. We haven't really heard from people that were employed by Diddy. We haven't heard from people that were employed by him. Some. We've heard from the people before Cassie. We heard about Cassie. We heard about Cassie and her friends. We heard about the security. We heard about the people that arrested him. So we've heard about different things, but we still need to hear from his staff. We heard from maybe one or two? We did. We heard from a guy that was hired to do XYZ, and we heard from a girl. Remember, she had stayed up for 5 days. So we have heard from some of his staff. We have. I take that back. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Yes. Where is the K? Where is she? And is she going to testify? Did she take a plea? Did she take a plea? Because that's going to be big, regards to his security and regards to the K. That's big. And will they save her for the end? And then y'all realize, if y'all didn't catch it earlier this week, they were talking about finance stuff. Because remember, he sought out money from Cassie's family. They allegedly showed the receipt for that. And they showed the receipt for him paying for the tape. And they went over that for hours, they said, in regards to the tape. And the tape, okay, say for instance, is marked as 10:06, and then you're at 11:06. So where's the skipping? So they talked about the tape a lot. But the biggest thing is he apologized. He didn't say Cassie's name, but he did apologize. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Is it in the courtroom at this point in this trial? Because it's been going on for a while now.
Yes.
We feel the pressure on the outside because of all the headlines, and we see all the intimate details of how it unfolds, and we can kind of see it from a 30,000-foot view. But when you're there on the ground in the courtroom, what's the atmosphere like?
You know, it's very interesting because we're mixed inside the courtroom, right? So there's a lot of media, there's a lot of public, so we get to actually hear the sentiment. And after today's testimony, everyone was like, why are we here? This is an intimate act between these two people. Sure, there was absolutely domestic violence between him and Cassie Ventura. Everyone acknowledges that. The defense did as well. But it's looking right now like they do not have enough. And most of the general public that I speak to that's in the courtroom with us, they're not seeing it. And so what we're looking to see is what the prosecution is going to lay out over the next couple of days, because I think that's either going to solidify their case or it's not.
As an attorney, when you're looking at the case, they're all...
Yeah, some of those people wanted their job, and some of them sued him. Did y'all catch that, T? Some of those people still wanted their job, and some of them sued him. The one young lady from either this week, last week, she had hired that one attorney. She got rid of him. She was seeking money, and I think she got rid of that attorney. I think her court case is still kind of like in the balance, still kind of pending, since she got rid of her lawyer. So that's huge. She got rid of that lawyer because he was putting in things that she didn't feel that he should be putting into the documents. And I think that one person wanted 10 million, and she has not had a settlement yet. So there's definitely a lot going on. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. So there's a lot going on. People that he liked, people that he hired, people staying up for hours, people having to set up the rooms, utilizing the money for the rooms, and then some of the rooms being shut down for a major cleanup, steam clean, because the rooms had kind of gotten messed up. I'm surprised they didn't put sheets down and sheets on the walls versus the hotel getting messed up. But here nor there. Like the video, fair use reaction clip. You guys, if you're watching from a phone, press 1. Can you please get the likes up to double tap the screen? Can we please get the likes up to double tap the screen? We're at 35 likes. There's probably been about 5,000 people in the video already. Let's get the likes up. Just double tap the screen, please, if you're watching from a phone or a tablet. Or hit the thumbs up above the video, below the video. Okay, let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Working 24 hours a day, basically,
Absolutely.
right? So they're in there right now, possibly, in their room, and they're thinking, okay, so we've done this, this, and this. They have a big chart up, I would imagine.
Correct.
Maybe in a room like this is a courtroom, but maybe in a legal area. And they're thinking, okay, what do we have to do to connect the dots? If you were advising them, what do they have to put on before they hand over the reins of this trial to the defense?
If I'm the government, what I really want to show now is the force and coercion. So she's participated in these acts. She says that she at some point in time changed her mind about participating in these acts. But what was the force and coercion he held over you or used against you that caused you to continue doing that? They must close that up for the human trafficking charge that he's being charged with for her. So that's one. Two, I expect to see, and I would anticipate that they would have at least one security member who can also testify to that, to sort of gel this together. Because part of this is that so many of the women that we're talking about were in intimate relationships with him. You almost want someone who is an outside third party, no intimate romantic relationship, to corroborate everything that they've laid out. So that's what I'm expecting to see.
Which Ms. Bongolan is or was. Yet
Yes.
in this particular case doesn't sound like was the strongest perhaps for the prosecution. We'll see how it plays with the jury. Wrapping up for this conversation, Where do you think we stand right now if you're the defense? I mean, do you change your tactic as you prepare to put on your case based on what you've heard so far?
Absolutely. Any good defense lawyer is going to be altering their case as the government is putting on their case, because what you have to do is answer the questions that have been left out there, reinforce the holes and the things that bring in reasonable doubt. And so they're listening, they're taking notes. This defense is not fully solidified until they rest their case. Now, you have a theory and you know what you're presenting, but you definitely want to address these moments. You want to remind the jury about these things, and you want to be sure that the witnesses that you're are addressing those holes, so that way you continue to create this reasonable doubt.
All right, the story continues.
And maybe people that work for him, maybe they'll be towards the end because they want to close it out strong. There's a lot going on inside the courtroom, outside the courtroom. And when they say they want people to be anonymous, that's what the courts mean. Okay, so let's get to this one. Fair use reaction clip. Good morning, everyone. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 you've been here before, where you're watching from. And like I said before, I don't know. I wasn't there. He's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. A judge, jury is going to have to decide if there's any wrongdoing, period.
The cross-examination, I should say. Elizabeth, it's good.
Let's continue to get the likes up, you guys. I do see that I got like 10 more likes. Continue to double tap that screen to hit the like, please, to support the channel. Super chats are welcome. There are memberships that are available. So if you want to become a member, thank you. Want to send super chats, thank you. Let's continue fair use. And don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. We're trying to hit, we've got millions of views. We're trying to hit 1 million by the end of the year. Real talk. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
See you. She was really, really heavily cross-examined today. I mean, they were striking at different aspects of her credibility. And, you know, I asked our viewers if they have any questions for you. So as you talk about the highlights of Brianna Bongolan's cross-examination, we have a question from I Do. Did Brianna seem frazzled by the defense questioning, or did she keep it together?
Yeah, from my perspective, I felt like she kept it together as best as she could. She didn't seem...
Right now, we're listening to Law Crimes. This was about 20 hours ago, so it was yesterday. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. Let's continue.
She didn't get combative with Nicole Westmoreland during the cross-examination. She really just, for the most part, if she didn't remember something, she said, I don't remember, even if it was something that happened relatively soon as far as the date goes, or when it had happened back in 2016. And it felt like the focus of the cross-examination, for the most part, I'm sure you've already been discussing it, Jesse, it's just what she recalled and when she recalled it, specifically whether or not these injuries occurred and did they occur because of Sean Combs. And I think some of the big stuff that Nicole Westmoreland was really going over during the cross-exam was, for example, showing her photos about her sending a picture which looked like drugs. It had pills, there was crystallized substance in these exhibit photos, and Nicole Westmoreland was like, oh, so things were just business as usual just after this incident occurred. But I think the big kind of gotcha moment in a way was just that the defense brought up Diddy's hotel receipts, and specifically receipts from when he had checked into the Trump Hotel September 24th through September 29th of 2016, because Brianna, while she was on the stand, was saying that she believed that this date, or the date of the incident, had occurred in late September, specifically September 25th or September 26th. But as the defense pointed out towards the end of their cross-examination, Sean Combs and even Cassie in some aspects were over here in New York and even in New Jersey. So they brought up the Trump Hotel, it was like a check-in document or a receipt, but the receipt was for Frank Black, and you saw the arrival date from September 24th of 2016 to November 29th of 2016, and then the various charges to that respective room as far as breakfast bills, which went from $344 to $1031. $107.84. So it really felt like they were showing just kind of that final receipt of being like, okay, you said that this happened on this date, but it shows that according to this receipt that Frank Black, aka Puffy, aka Diddy, aka Sean Combs, and even Cassandra Ventura, aka Cassie, were here in this area, here in New York, here over in Jersey doing events. And so they try to kind of bring it back under the redirect, but I kind of feel like and kind of have a sense that the damage might have already been done.
You know, we have a question here from Danny.
And see, that's the thing. People need to make sure their dates are right. They get on that stand and they know. Because they're going to make sure that Diddy was in another area or he was at a different hotel. People need to make sure their dates are right. But you got to remember, like I said before, these people allegedly were on substances. But it's a concern if he's somewhere else and you're saying this is the date that it happened. People need to make sure they're where they need to be. If he's in another city or state and you're saying it happened on that date, you get on the stand. They're making these witnesses alleged look like liars in some certain situations. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
And this is one of the reasons I love having you on, Elizabeth, is there's only so much we can get from the transcript and the reporting. Danny asks, is it true that during some of Brianna's testimony she was laughing on the stand?
No, not at all. Like,
Okay.
not from everything that I've been hearing did I hear any
Okay.
type of laughter. So no, that is not true, unfortunately.
All right,
Or not
well-
unfortunately, but it's not true.
What about this? This is a question from Candela. How are the jurors coming along? Are they as invested as the first testimonies, or does the repetitive nature of hearing these allegations seemingly getting to them? They must be tired, I would assume.
Yeah. Well, you know, from what I could see of them, I did see one juror kind of in the front row, kind of doing that tennis match look where she was looking at Nicole Westmoreland, and just kind of her direct line of questioning, because she is super direct when she asks the question. So did you say that this happened? True, yes or no? So I saw this juror look at Nicole Westmoreland and look at Vanna for a reaction. I saw from what I could see over in the gallery, some jurors still jotting down notes, but I also, to that point, wondered, are they kind of tired of the repetitiveness? Because it wasn't until the end of her cross-examination that we really kind of got to the point of where they were trying to go with this. So I was wondering, Nicole Westmoreland said it would take maybe 30 to 45 minutes for her to finish her cross-examination, but I was wondering, did we need the first 15 or 20 minutes of that cross-exam today? But we did, and we got through it, and now Vanna is off the witness stand.
I have maybe the most important comment yet. This is from Enlin DK for you, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, what's the skincare? Because damn. The people love
The lady that's reporting from Law Crimes, she is a gorgeous lady. I like how the guy from Law Crimes breaks it down. I think a lot of people like how he breaks it down. So I had heard that somebody had kind of laughed a little bit too. I'm not certain if it's the young lady that's on the stand now or on the stand from yesterday. And I'm trying to remember what part she laughed or giggled at. I don't know if it's because she realized they were trying to trip her up, but I did hear that. So she might not have heard it, but I also listen to people when they're live in court. So I listen to different people at night, and then I'm listening sometimes in the car in regards to what's happening in the trial. So let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Elizabeth. Everybody loves you. I know you need that. There you go.
My boss thought
Hold on. Fair use reaction clip. And see, some of the people, you got to remember, they were on substances. So certain things are not going to be remembered. But you know, you guys, I've said this earlier this week. If you're on a situation, on a job, and you feel uncomfortable about something, take notes. Send it somewhere, send it to somebody. You know, once you do get home from an event, talk about what happened in a safe location. Some of these people should not have had to deal with certain things, but he was very clear about, looking at some of their stuff too. So, and the biggest things, go to the police, go to the hospital. A lot of these people did not go to the police. They did not go to the hospital. And I'm trying to see why people are saying, did he tell you if you went and made him look bad, or you try and ruin his career? What was expected? You know what I'm saying? Why were people so fearful of going to the police and the hospital? Because, of course, the hospital records would show the concerns. If women said that they were touched, you got to get a kit done. But it seems like a lot of people didn't get kits done. But I don't know. I'm concerned. I would not want a sister or a mother to work on a job like that, or I wouldn't want a mother or sister to date a guy in regards to what these allegations are. Real talk. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Continued to show up daily, or has his courtroom support varied as time has?
And could you imagine being a juror? Hours and hours sitting there listening. Fair use reaction clip.
Rest.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it kind of has varied. You know, there were times, especially at the beginning of the trial, where all of his children, with the exception of baby Love, were inside that courtroom. Then that kind of dwindled a little bit. We haven't seen his daughter since week 1 of trial. As far as his son goes,
Yeah, they haven't seen the daughter since week 1. Could you imagine sitting in that courtroom week 1, hearing what was said in regards to people that were hired? That week 1 was mind blowing. Everybody was like, he got his daughters in the courtroom. What? Fair use reaction clip.
kind of dwindled here and there too. For example, last week we saw Quincy, Justin, and Christian Combs all in.
And the daughters did graduate and they went to prom. So they've been busy. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people were like, no, his daughter should not be in the courtroom, period. Like the video, fair use. And at some point they did step out. Fair use reaction clip. Let's continue.
Inside that courtroom. But as far as today goes, it's a different kind of lineup. Justin Combs is inside that courtroom. His mother, Janice Combs, has been inside that courtroom for most of the duration of trial so far. Haven't seen his sister Keisha since last week, but his kind of one of his biggest supporters, Char Lucci, who's also a producer, but one of Diddy's very close friends from childhood, he's been inside that courtroom every single day of trial, and he was also one who had often attended the pre-trial hearings. I think notably, kind of a person who I think is pretty interesting that's been showing up to court this week in particular has been Dana Tran, and that is the mother of Diddy's youngest daughter, and that is Baby Love, who is I think maybe 2 or 3 years old, but she's been appearing in court today. So as far as everyone together, it's like Diddy's PR, his mom Janice, Dana Tran, Char Lucci, and Justin Combs, all there to kind of support Diddy over on the defense side.
Elizabeth, something just happened in court a few minutes ago, and I want your perspective if you've seen this. So Judge Arun Subramanian said to Mark Agnifilo, one of Sean Combs' defense counsel's defense attorneys, Mr. Agnifilo, your client was looking at jurors and nodding vigorously. This can't continue, or I will give a limiting instruction you won't like, or other measures, including barring your client from the courtroom. Do you understand? And Agnifilo responds, yes. Did you see this?
So I will say that once they kind of got into those arguments, I just went kind of to the door. But I'm surprised that the judge kind of has been noticing this too, because that is one thing that I've been noticing whenever the jury comes into the courtroom, and even when they exit the courtroom, is that Diddy is kind of looking at them. He is looking at them and nodding his head at them. And I think in some respects too, while he's at the defense table and there's a question or an answer that the witness gives, he's shaking his head, he's nodding his head. He is giving kind of visible reactions to things he doesn't like that are being said on the witness stand. And so I'm surprised that the judge kind of brought the hammer down, but I think it was only a matter of time before he was going to say something about this.
I have another question for you, Elizabeth. This is from RSS. Reporters and press have noted strange interactions. Reporters and press have noted strange interactions outside of the trial. Has Elizabeth faced any such strange encounters? And then it gets cut off. I mean, I don't know if anybody's watching Sidebar. Sometimes people yell things, but have you noticed anything like this?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, there's been a lot of just interest, and I think just the volume of people who are here every single day. There are some interesting encounters that you have. For example, today, one of the people who sits in line overnight was allegedly hit in the head with a hammer by none other than the MTA lady. And so there are some people who just try to either cut the line to get into the courtroom. There have been kind of, I wouldn't say verbal spats, because then that would imply that it was super aggressive, but there's been kind of just a little bit of, I would say, kind of a little bit of aggressiveness as far as just some people who either will cut in line, or some people who just want so much access to the trial that it kind of is upsetting people who have been standing in line for hours on it.
Aside from this is a case that raises a lot of emotions.
Good morning, good morning. Like the video as you guys come in. Good morning, good morning. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 5 you've been here before, where you're watching from. Thanks for being here, everyone. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
People have taken certain sides in it. I saw it personally when it's covering Johnny Depp, Amber Heard. It's one of the cases people are really, really invested in. Let me ask you this, Elizabeth. This happened at the beginning of the day. There was a whole back and forth about the press in court, about whether or not the press are following court orders. What was that all about? Can you provide a little bit more illumination on the press being, there was a constitutional issue in terms of, what was going on there?
Yeah. It had to do with the exhibits that Jane will be testifying to when she takes the stand next, which is very soon. So they had to do with the Jane exhibits. The press, for the most part, was concerned about not getting these exhibits because, again, for our viewers who don't know, we unfortunately are not going to be able to see the exhibits, such as photographs, such as text message exhibits, in the fashion that we normally do. Why? Because the government says there's so much redaction that needs.
Good morning, Florida. Good morning, good morning. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video, you guys. Thanks for being here. Good morning, good morning.
To be done. So in these text messages, they kind of show Jane's personal information as far as concerning her family members and as far as concerning what could be identifiable information that could possibly help release her name out into the public. And they definitely don't want that, especially after what had happened to Mia. And so the government was saying that they can release the photos and the videos that don't depict Jane, and they can easily be released, possibly even the same day. But as far as her text and those photos that do show her face, do show identifiable features, those will take a little bit more, or take a little bit longer of a time to just redact those. And so the media organization kind of legal representative was saying that the government should have redacted these exhibits before she had testified, or before she testifies today. The media organization also saying that the press has a right and needs to see these exhibits, and delayed access is not effective access. And so what the judge ended up ruling is that he did end up siding with the government in this part, and that the media application to see these exhibits, even if it was just certain members of the press to see these exhibits, that application was denied.
I get it. I completely understand. This is one of those cases. There is an extra sensitivity, and you are having witnesses who have been testifying under pseudonyms. It's, I mean, even when we show the clip, the B-roll, the courtroom sketches, we're blocking out the face. You're blocking out the face of Mia, so it's a problem. Elizabeth Milner, thank you so much for the great reporting.
Have you heard about drop-in?
I think everybody's been doing a great job trying to cover the trial the best way they can, in their own way. The news is doing a great job. There's a lot of content creators that's doing a lot of great jobs. There's some people that's, having concerns, and they're straightening stuff out too. So there's just a lot going on. I told y'all there's going to be a lot of distractions, whether it's celebrities or distractions at the courthouse. I told y'all. Let's continue. Fair use.
Later today as we do a full court recap.
Don't forget to subscribe, you guys, and turn on your notification. If you're already subscribed, thank you. We're definitely trying to hit 38K. We're trying to hit 38K. Don't forget, 9 or 10 months ago, we only had 3,000 subscribers, so our page has grown. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip.
Thanks, Jesse. All right. So I'm back here with Barrett Berger, Tyler Bailey, Rich Schoenstein. Tyler, I'll start with you. Combs allegedly signaling to the jury, nodding to the jury. Why is that such a no-no?
You can't do anything as a defendant that could be showing like you're trying to influence the jury, intimidate the jury.
So we're about to hear why this is a bad thing that Diddy's allegedly glancing or looking at. Continue to double tap the screen, you guys. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. If you're watching from a phone, press 1. Can I please get 100 people to double tap that screen to hit the like? YouTube makes it so easy. Hitting the like button is free. Thank you. And like I said, Diddy's innocent till proven guilty in a court of law. So if you're watching from a phone, press 1. Double tap the screen to hit the like button, please. Let's get to 100 likes. Thank you. Let's continue. Fair use. So let's hear why this is an issue if he's glancing or looking at the jurors.
Draw empathy from the jury. Defense lawyers, we always tell our clients to not be fazed, whether it's good testimony that's coming out or bad testimony that's coming out. We also hear that the judge said that he seems to be nodding his head pretty vigorously at witnesses when they're saying certain things. That could be interpreted different ways. It could be that he's in agreement, or that he's trying to possibly intimidate these witnesses.
Yeah.
Nodding his head as if, okay, we'll see about that. Because, he's in jail, but he still has connections. He's a known figure. If he is this big, powerful person that the government is making him out to be, him intimidating witnesses could go a long way and influence future testimony that's going to be elicited in this trial.
So we're going to take your questions, your continued questions for the next 25 minutes or so. So get them in. We'll try to answer as best as we can. We also have a poll up. So Rich, listen to this. The poll we had up was, do you think Diddy and his team should sue CNN for the 2016 hotel video leak? 80% say no, 19% say yes. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm with the 80%, but mostly because it would be a fruitless endeavor to try to sue CNN for that. I don't see any basis for it.
Well, actually, we have a question that just kind of jumped on that. This is from Illy Gazarian. Can Diddy also sue the hotel for providing the video to CNN, assuming that's what happened, since they told him there's no copies? Can he sue the hotel or the staff?
Well, that's an interesting question, right? So he bribes the hotel to buy the video. Can he then sue the hotel because they kept a copy? He didn't really pay the hotel for the video, right? He paid a guy at the hotel.
That split it with 2 others.
To surreptitiously get the video to him. So I don't know how he could sue the hotel. I guess he could sue the guy, but I don't know. I don't think that's going anywhere.
Well, couldn't you sue the hotel and be like, this is who you employ? How dare you employ people?
But I think that hotel is closed unless they have other locations. But you did, see, that's the tricky thing. He did what he did to Cassie, which was wrong. She was trying to leave, and we saw what happened when she tried to leave. So how could you sue when you were in the wrongdoing? And then you allegedly paid for copies of it so it wouldn't ruin your career. We can't keep covering stuff up if there's wrongdoing. We can't award bad behavior. Let's continue. Fair use reaction clip. I like how they're breaking it down, though.
Okay, that I couldn't properly bribe.
Why can't I beat up my girlfriend in your hallway in private
and pay it off the right way?
That's crazy.
It's a serious argument. I hear what you're saying. Okay, Barrett, I want to go to you. This is from Fet Leon. Could it be tactics from the prosecution to bring in anonymous witnesses to emphasize how much of an impact the treatment by Diddy had on them? That's an interesting question because the jury seems to be they're testifying under a pseudonym, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, but the short answer is no, it's not. And I know that because it's a really high bar to be able to get a witness to testify under a pseudonym. So in federal court, and actually in all courts in our country, there is a presumption that the courts will be open, that the public has a right to see what happens in a public trial. So anytime you want to take a measure to sort of limit the public's access to any portion of a trial, there's a pretty high bar for that. So if you want to close the courtroom for certain motions, you have to satisfy certain legal thresholds. Same with getting a witness to testify under a pseudonym. It's not something that's granted easily, and it's not something that's granted often. So no, I don't think it is something that the prosecutors are doing at a whim. My guess is if they've been able to convince the judge that this is appropriate, then there is evidence that there is some sort of a real threat.
So there's that, everyone. We did the update from yesterday. Today is going to be a long day because if I'm not mistaken, court started at 9. And then I think it's supposed to go to 5. And I think the judge had told the jurors, be prepared for a long day for today and possibly next week. But I think there's a few things that's alleged that's going on. And if that's true, we'll kind of cover that. I'm very cautious of what to say, how to say it. Yeah. I'm a wait. If there's going to be more attention, if other celebrities start to testify, it's going to be packed outside in regards to people covering it. I'm very surprised we haven't heard a mixture of celebrities testifying or saying something. And maybe that's to come. But I'm very surprised that not a lot of celebrities outside of Kid Cudi. And then they gave Kid Cudi a hard time about him testifying. Hello, alleged his car had an issue. Hello, his house got, people were in his house alleged. That's a concern. But this is the biggest thing. Cat Williams told us Hollywood is going to be exposed, period. Like the video, fair use reaction clip. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. Press 3 if you knew where you're watching from. We've been live for an hour. I might go live later on today to cover what happened today. I have some stuff I have to take care of. I'm a busy lady. I do things outside of YouTube, but I always try and bring you out to TTT and what's going on. And mothers teach your daughters different. Fathers, look out for your daughters, your sons. Men are going through stuff too. So people in relationships are going through things. Diddy liked to do what he liked to do, and he didn't want celebrities to know all that he was into. He got away with a lot over the years. He did. So I appreciate y'all being here. It's a copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comments, news reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All comments are alleged, in our opinion, and for entertainment purposes only. Focus on healthy, safe relationships, y'all. Be around people that's loving, kind, and respectful. Keep an eye on your friends. Keep an eye on it. And call your friends. You good? You need somewhere to stay? Do we need an exit plan? Like I said, I don't know these people. I don't know the diddler. He's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. We will keep an eye out on. But I'm hoping this is a learning lesson, and it's unfortunate. It's a trigger warning for some as well. So I don't wish this on any woman, any mother, any aunt. This is a lot. This is a lot. Whew, it's a lot. And the first 2 weeks, we were really concerned about people covering this case because it was a lot of stuff that was being said. So thanks for being here, everyone. Be safe, be kind, focus on healthy, safe relationships. Be around people that's loving, kind, and respectful. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I appreciate you all for being here. Have a blessed day, everyone. Be blessed. Be kind, be respectful. Goodbye.